This is
Thought Crimes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment. I only have one question.
Who the fuck you think you fucking with? I run shit here. You just live here.
I want to sing y'all a brand new song I just wrote called Don't Trust Them New Niggas Over There.
Now don't be a Negro, be my nigga. All right, help me out.
Hold on. I ain't nobody's nigga.
Well, I mean, you somebody's nigga wearing this nigga top.
Bitch ain't no legend. I'm the legend in this motherfucker. You can't be no legend and you 5 fucking years old. This motherfucker just called somebody a legend. Oh my.
We'll do it live. No. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. Facts on it, y'all. What's good?
What's up? What's up? This is your girl, Sincere.
Yo, this is your boy P Solo in the building. Of course, we are here. Back at it again. We have a surprise live stream for you wonderful people out there. I see all of you lovely Negroes and Negresses in the chat room. Welcome to Thought Crimes, the Church of Thought Crimes. Let's go ahead and get started and introduce some of our lovely participants. See that there? I had that little bit of a Magic Johnson moment. Participants. Okay. Anyway, CL Brown, Fudge _X, shouted, what's good with you? Deliberator Dorsey, yes, Lord, how are you doing? Umar. Yes, we're going to get into Dr. Umar Johnson as well. Steve Simmons, Quincy Thomas, .common show. That's what I'm saying. I like that. Fitzroy, of course, we got here African Queen. Shouts out to you as well. Clement Vickers, AJJ314, Jalen Boyd. I love that artist that you got the avatar from as well. Excellent brother. Teflon Funk. Shouts out to him as well. Yes, we're gonna go down here as well. Big L with the EL, Cutie Pie, Esco, Mark J. Yo, Dante, shouts out to you, Maximilian, and IW Pop, Cam Warren, Chris G. Folks, we will continue to bless you all as y'all continue to come into the chat room. But let's go ahead and get into it. We saw an interesting situation here today. Video, homeboy of mine, he sent it to me. He was like, yo, P, what's good with you? I know you and your woman, y'all gonna probably have to chop it up on the situation. So we saw here Dr. Umar Johnson. Y'all know Mr. Brother Umar. That's right, Umar. You held it down. Come on. Umar Benny Siegel held it down, but he held his ground against Scott Bolden, Eugene Craig III, and also Miss Lauren Victoria Burke. Now, these were a collective panelists on the Roland Martin show, and it was very interesting. Sincere, I'll go ahead and you can go ahead and have the floor on this one. What were your thoughts on their exchange?
Well, hey, everyone in the chat room. Also, to address your question, well, I thought Scott Bolden was a great guy. He was very diplomatic. He was centered. He had a nice dialogue and conversation with Umar Johnson and even agreed with many of his points. When it came to the other person, Lauren Victoria Burke, she was very disrespectful. She just talked over everything this guy had to say, or Dr. Umar Johnson had to say. And I think she was the worst on the panel. In second place, Eugene, he was in the second place as the worst person on the panel because he wasn't addressing the points that Umar Johnson was making. And then he was also given really remedial, he was doing really remedial tactics, basically just trying to sideswipe the whole conversation about individualism. Dr. Umar Johnson was making a point about systemic issues and systemic problems, and to show evidence or proof where white people have collectively put in a policy and held on to that policy that was in the betterment of black people in particular. And no one can answer that. And then real quick, just to go to Lauren Victoria, she mentioned Tim Wise and LBJ. She also failed miserably when it came to this. And real quick, just before you go ahead, Prince, I want to let everybody know, do we disagree with certain things with Umar Johnson or Dr. Umar Johnson? Absolutely. And you've seen us say where we disagree. But when it came to this, everyone with any common sense who read about facts, what's going on systemically and what black people have to face, everything he said on that day, on that show, was 100% correct.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I got to give it to you, Queen Sincere. Broke it down in the opening. I love that about you as well, and people do as well. Look, y'all, I have no problem with Umar Johnson. I will go to the trunk with the AK-47 with his big hefty D ass. As long as he don't point out the cracker inside of me, I'm fine. No, realistically, though, here's the thing that was interesting. First of all, Scott Bolden, what he is, and if people are not familiar too much with Scott Bolden, he's basically a legislative advisor for corporations and also individuals as well, private citizens. So he deals with legislative process, litigation, for the most part, a heavyweight hitter. The most I've heard about Scott Bolden was that he had a grown daughter that he was not aware about while he was attending Morehouse, that he sired 2 decades ago, and she came back into his life. He welcomed the young lady with open arms. He talked about, as a black man, his whole ambition was it was about ambition, political ambition, money and power, the things he wanted in life. So Scott Bolden, from what I've seen consistently, he's usually been pretty centered. Now, Eugene Craig is a different story. It's really touch and go with him. All right. I try not to pay too much to him, too much attention to him, but he's usually all over the place. He's always kind of, he's always kind of tap dancing for, like, when conservatives have, like, public racist gaffes, white conservatives. So he's the black whisperer, the Negro whisperer that says, conservative is not about racism. We shall not tolerate this, yada, yada.
You want a quick fact about him that I just read?
Okay.
He's actually behind the Kanye West campaign for conservatism.
That's him. That's the guy. That's the guy. Like Drake says, that's my guy. That's my guy. Now, when it comes to 1989 dried up Jerry curl, Miss Laura Victoria Burke, sister, please, you look like a cricket up there. I'm gonna need you to come all the way back down to planet Earth. This is what was interesting about their exchange between Umar Johnson. Look, like I said, my problem with Umar Johnson is when he attacked that brother Seti like that. Even though I just said he's a character, he's a fucking character. He's a fucking character.
Either,
but I don't like the fact we have black men and women that resemble his skin tone, just like we have black men and women that have issues pertaining to colorism on the darker end of the spectrum. We have that on the lighter end. So when he was talking about the crack and all that, I didn't like that. All right, but outside of that, though, he's very articulate in his exchange and he makes salient and valid points. Now, what he did up there, he was breaking the point down, and all Miss Jerry Curl Jackson got stuck on was, you mean to tell me there aren't white people out there? And what I don't like, what people like her do, specifically black professionals in the black intellectual space of academia, what they tend to do, they bring up white whisperer such as Tim Wise. He's an articulator. Let's make that clear. He's a race articulator. As Umar Johnson did state, systemically, he's not doing nothing. He's not a part of a large movement to bring down racism, to stop it in its track. He is a white whisperer for white folks. Okay, he's a Negro whisperer for white people, white whisperer. All right, so he is a race articulator. When she threw him out there, and I forget the rabbi's name, but everybody in her mindset, they usually throw these two people out. So that's the problem. What I don't like, it's what she is hearkening on is basically feel-good politics.
A raindrop in a ocean.
Yeah, and he made me feel good. Okay, all right. And Tim Wise, he's talking to his people. He's talking to his people about racism. It doesn't mean it's doing anything for the relief of the average brother and sister working at a factory or working in a call center or driving a bus or doing security.
And most white people talk shit about him anyway. So good luck.
Yeah. So she was sitting up there looking dizzy. And shouts out to Love Wisdom with her soul glow on.
That's a good point. Slow glow.
I knew someone. I already know, because see, I already know about her. I know about her. And if you go to her bio, one of the things she prides herself on is she has a family of cops. So when you say something like that as a black person, you're not basically trying to make it appear you're safe for black people to talk to and palpable for black people to talk to. You're talking to white folks.
Yes.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of things going on with this thing about race and cops, but I'm a black person. I have a family of cops. And what I did not like about the panel overall, specifically with her, but I've seen her do this before, and I'm going to go ahead and get off my podium here. But She has historically always been very verbally combative when it comes to panels. Okay, whenever she's a panelist, especially if it's a brother, for whatever reason, she usually talks over him. The other two guys, Scott Bolden was the more centered, as you pointed out.
He great, very laid back. He was really astute. He was just listening to what this guy had to say, and he had a rebuttal. Yeah,
and Eugene actually was prepared to engage in a legitimate debate, but he kept getting distracted from Jerry Curl Juice in the middle.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I also want everyone in the chat room, we're not talking about homosexuality today. And we're not talking about homophobia.
Yeah.
Just because this is going to derail the conversation. We don't agree with Umar Johnson on a lot of the things he say about homosexuality, but we don't want to get into that right now. That is a conversation for another day. Let's focus, please, on systemic racism and what was addressed on the panel. So, another thing that I really thought was disgusting from Miss Jerry Curl Juice, as everyone in the chat room and you also stated, not only was she throwing at just insults towards Dr. Umar Johnson, along with actually Eugene, because he did call him a liar.
Oh yeah, but, I'm glad you brought that up. I'll touch on that later, but go ahead.
Yeah, but I will have to say I respected the way Umar Johnson handled himself.
Yeah.
Like how he handled himself there is exactly how he needs to present himself all the time.
Because he big. They already scared of him.
Yeah, so now he addressed a lot of things that I wanted him to clarify. And reading the message that the family said, for example, about Frederick Douglass, and that a segment or that part of the statement where they said some of the things he stated was true, now it all comes together and it makes sense. He never said he was a direct descendant from Frederick Douglass. He stated he is from the lineage because the cousin of Frederick Douglass, he comes from that direct lineage. And he was able to bring the facts on that. So that's one thing that's off the table. He also was able to bring in his history when it came to his education. So that's off the table. And those two things can be verified. He cleared up everything. So now at this point, we need to really focus on the content of what was said on that panel outside of Umar Johnson's personal life. So again, when it comes to systemic issues, when it comes to the housing crisis, when it comes to education, when it comes to like what happened with clean water or clean energy, look at Flint, Michigan with the lead water. These are the things that Dr. Umar Johnson is talking about. And these are the things that nobody on the panel wanted to address. And I think if it was just left with Scott and Umar Johnson and Roland Martin, although he was being a little disrespectful to Roland Martin, but if it was just left to those three guys, I think it would have been a more productive conversation.
Yeah, what it was is, see, the problem is when you had old slow Eugene on the end, and he usually is. I'm sorry, it's just the way he carries himself whenever he's engaged in some sort of pundency, about whatever's taking place, whether it's race or just politics in general. Like that's him. I'm sorry, but that's what the brother acts like. Now, Miss Laura Victoria Burke, aka the NWA reject, what happened here? She got very personal, and there was one line he said I thought was just beautiful. I was like, He said, "You all don't even represent the average Black American. So what do you know?"
And they don't.
Which is true, because it's what people in the middle talk about when it comes to the coasters, the left or the right coast. This is what Bill Maher gets swept in. There's certain issues Bill Maher, he's attached to emotionally. Some of them are okay, but for him to make it the center point of just life, it shows you where he is in his life, right? So what he was basically saying is that you Negroes are in the green zone. You Negroes have received your degrees, you've received your money, your finances, you're invested, you have the opportunity. If you're not already coming from generational wealth, you can develop generational wealth as well. But you have no right to say that This is what black Americans shouldn't be doing, which is what usually happens when you have these Negroes on the hill. Okay, and like I said, minus Scott Bolden, because I have seen him do things to try to get in touch more so with more of the mainline average black person. And like I said, usually when I see him, whenever I see him, he's a little bit more focused than the other two. Again, Miss Victoria Burke, Laura Victoria Burke, I've seen her cut up several different times. Okay, and I said, you know what? You look like a depressed pimp up here on this panel. She looked like a depressed ass pimp on the panel. She got very personal, and it's like she got hung up on this. She got hung up on this, the mentality, and it's a part of the neoliberal class that has destroyed black America. All right. Sam Paula says, how do I know 190 million people? He said that to you as well. But yeah,
that was another thing she was saying. That I was like, can she shut the fuck? We know because of the policies. Like this is, I hate people who try to be smart ass
dumbasses
because they show themselves to be an ass. If someone says, well, how do you know what 100 million people think? You know by the policies that affect an entire demographic. That's how you know.
Well, you know what?
It's very simple.
How do we not know she looked into a mirror before she left the house looking like a depressed pimp?
We don't know that she looked.
We don't know that either.
Before she left the house.
So come on, like, you gonna be glad I wasn't on that panel. Are we gonna do insults? Are we roasting? That's what we doing? Roland Martin, man, what I didn't like about him,
he had an undertone of hostility towards him.
Oh, it was very passive aggressive. It was very passive aggressive. What I don't like about Roland Martin, he tries to make himself seem non-objective, but he's actually arbitrary a lot of times. So the fact, even look at his body language. He had his hand on his hips like Little Miss Teacup. Did you see that? He was a very defensive type of energy he gave off. You know, and it was almost like he was sitting up there like Hattie McDaniel.
Yeah.
He was sitting up there like Hattie McDaniel.
And you know what was so funny? He was on go. He was like a volcano that didn't erupt yet because he was waiting for Umar Johnson not to be able to explain anything. So when he was hitting everything, he had the facts behind him. He said, "This is the explanation," and you can see Roland Martin's like, "Damn, can't get him. Damn, can't get him. Damn, I'm waiting for him to fuck up."
Yeah. Well, another thing I didn't like, as you brought up, and that's why I'm glad you brought that point up, when Eugene Craig III insulted Umar, he called him a liar, and I heard him say that. And then, of course, Umar being who he is, he was like, fine, we're going to take it that you a coon. You know what I'm saying? And then Roland was like, whoa, there's things I will not allow. You're not going to call anybody any racial epithet. And then Umar was like, well, he called me a liar. You can say whatever you want. I said, whoa, that's no, because historically watching your show, sir, I've never seen you allow somebody to call somebody out of their name, period. In fact, there have been times where he's interjected in verbal altercations and he said you will not call somebody out of their name. Now, all of a sudden, you can call Umar a liar.
Absolutely. And another
so
thing
that indicates personal attacks.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you know, another thing that I wanted to add in the whole mix is when Roland Martin snapping the way he did, or like you said on Umar Johnson pertaining to the whole coon thing, but he didn't say anything that, you know, basically kickstarted the whole situation when Eugene called him a liar. Yeah. It was extremely disrespectful and disingenuous, like you stated. Right. You know, you are not supposed to allow anybody on the panel to attack somebody else. And for you to sit up there, you know what? And then he didn't look him in the eye.
Oh, he was scared. That boy was shook.
Don't tell somebody what you don't want them to do.
Don't look him in the eye.
And don't look him in the eye.
Come on now. He was up there scary.
Stop playing with my name.
I want to
no more. Stop playing with my name.
I want to address Irvin in the chat room. He wasn't lying about anything he said particular on that particular show. To call him a liar as a collective when everything he stated on that panel wasn't a lie, again, is disingenuous. If you want to talk about politicians or people on the panel like Eugene is a fucking liar. He's a liar. Well, but we're talking about what was discussed on the panel. So everyone pay attention. We're talking about what was discussed on the panel.
Yeah, and also I want to address a commenter. Jody Dawes, if I'm Dawes, I may be saying your name wrong or right. You said, come on now, really the personal insults against Jerry Curl Juice, NWA former member. Look, Look, let me tell you something about me. Historically, if you can go back and listen to every live stream that I've been a part of, Sincere's been a part of, once you cross the line for me personally, you can check my behavioral pattern. I'll put you up on. I'll tell you about my behavioral pattern. Once I see you become a staunch status, and you're a status, and you're black, I have no reason to hold back on you verbally.
Yeah, have no respect. She actually also, if you check her Facebook, she had like white people saying racist, stupid shit on her Facebook page.
Yeah, so like, when she's I mean, we're not covering, we're not caping for Juan Williams or Larry Elder. So no, I'm sorry, she still does look like a depressed pimp. Okay, so no, absolutely, and that's not no slight to all black women. I have never said all black women look like depressed pimps, but I'm letting you know right there, she looked like a pimp down. Okay, I'm gonna tell you about that. She look
like a pimp down.
Whole pimp, man. She looked like a depressed pimp in the damn picture.
And you go to Eugene. Come on, Eugene is trying to back. First of all, Eugene is okay with Trump, but not only that, he's trying to make Kanye West president. You want to talk about some people with fucking credibility?
Y'all finished or y'all done?
Come on now, bro. Like, be real about this, y'all. And then this is the thing, and we're talking about in the context of what Umar articulated.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, we're talking about within the confines of the conversation of the panel.
Show.
Yeah, it was that. Outside of that, like I said, you know, him saying, you know, about you got cracker in you, because that's very, that's all over the place. It's like calling, you know, Eugene, you know, something out of his name pertaining to his dark skin. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to get out of that. But, and I'm talking about, I don't know if it really would make a difference because Eugene has a different type of mindset, but I'm just talking about a normally functioning, racially aware black person, calling them out of their name in a sense of darkness or light skin or whatever the case is, man or woman, right? That's an issue, all right? As far as him liking them Erykah Badu type strippers, I ain't got no problem with that. Well, you know, just be honest with the people, though. That's all I'm saying.
Though. Like, you can't be a fucking hypocrite or come on our show and be okay when we said things about Umar Johnson in the stripper situation or about what he said to SETI, but then act like a coward or say we shouldn't say something about this woman, Laura, or about Eugene, who is backing Kanye West for president. So, like, stop with the bullshit. We're talking about, like what Prince said, only about what took place on the Roland Martin show and about the facts Umar Johnson was dropping on that show. So stay focused on the discussion of the conversation.
I was ready for him to come out that suit and tie. Y'all want to take this to the streets or what? And they got very personal, and this is what I have a problem. One thing that was interesting to me, this was hearkening back to the intellectual black bougie class that has actually been, they've been a buffer. They've been in the way. They've always explained away the pain of the people in lower class communities. Think about that. You're suffering because it's your fault. You're suffering because you didn't read The Secret, okay? That's why you're where you are, okay? So they're saying you're suffering because you listen to rap music. You're suffering because you have a tattoo on your arm. You're suffering because your first name is Janika. You're suffering because, like, that is the mindset of the intellectual black bougie class, whose one of their skill trade is verbal intellectual masturbation, and that's all they really concerned with. And again, with Lower Burke, her whole thing was to hold on to that mindset because Umar was raising valid points. He was bringing up very real issues, but for her, the focus of her thoughts and pattern was on what he said about whiteness and blackness, white people and black people, and are there any good white people? So that tells you the level of struggle that's in her life. That was the only thing that stood out to her, was what he said about white people.
Yeah, and like, if she actually wanted to bring up a good example, she had no example systemically, because white people collectively have done nothing systemically to help any group of people of African descent. But if you wanted to use an individual story, which that isn't what Umar Johnson was talking about, because there are individual white people that are good. You know, we threw, white people a cookie, and black people who love white people, we, threw them a cookie so you could be happy now. But of course, there's individuals that are good in every demographic. But the collectivized consciousness of a group is by how we treat people collectively, right? So if 95% of Congress is white, and most of the policies are very destructive to Black America, it has always been since they were brought here illegally by the Atlantic slave trade. And you know, I know there were some travelers who came to the Americas before that, but we keep it focused on what we're discussing here. But since the slave trade all the way till now, the government that has been majority white has never looked to the best interests of Black Americans, of Black America, of African Americans, of people of African descent. So to say that the majority are good in a system that tries to subjugate Black people for the prison industrial complex and has always attacked them constantly, you are a liar.
You called them people a liar.
Yeah, you have to be a liar because those are the facts. There's no way to talk around that. Those are the facts.
Facts.
What would you say about the people who were around when Jewish people were being slaughtered in the Holocaust?
Hold on now, Sincere. Wait a minute. Come on now. The ADL. We can't. Nah. I'm sorry. I can't allow that. Change it around.
What would you consider the people who were around with the Holocaust of the Jews? Would you say, oh, well, because of a few individuals that were good, therefore all of Germans were good? No, all of Germans, people from Germany were not good, because if they were good, they would have never did what they did as a collective. Tyrannical people only take power when that ordinary person don't do what they're supposed to do, and that's a fact.
Oh, you said facts. Yo, Corey James, as Sincere was, breaking it down, you brought up something, and I want you to address it, homie. You said, we hate accountability. Yes, I like that. We hate accountability. There's that pseudo-conservative neoliberal talk that has been killing Black America. It's been stressing Black America out. I do agree with Yvette Carnell on one particular issue she stated when she was talking about the Black strivers and how they've been driven crazy, and the idea of the Black striver to people who don't have resources but are still trying, but they feel like they're failures because they don't have adequate resources, but people are telling them no, they're failures because it's on them. It's their mindset, right? But it's not pertaining to their environment. So when you say accountability, right? Are you a responsible Black man? Yes or no? You can simply, address it in the comment section. And do you not still face systemic racism? Yes or no? See, that's the thing. We gotta get out of this mindset. Yes, there's a lot of us moving around. Sincere, now we're responsible. P, I move around. I do what I do. You know what I'm saying? I'm not out there messing around like a dumbass. But guess what? I still run into racist police officers. I still run into racism, period. I'm still suffering from depression of the onslaught of racism. So has Sincere. So we had to get at this idea of washing away what we're really going through, which is what I didn't like about the NWA member in the middle of the panel. She was doing that. She was trying to wash away the legitimate, valid points and criticisms that Umar Johnson had, and she wanted to focus on Mr. Rogers of the neighborhoods, the Mr. and Mrs. Rogers of the neighborhoods. And that's that feel-good, Disney-fied, racial, homogenous society that we've been told historically through the cartoons, through the songs, I
actually want to touch on that homogenous society, if you don't mind.
Right.
I think you're bringing up a good point here. That's why it's really important to talk about the consciousness of a collective people.
Facts.
Collective-wise, the consciousness of Black people historically, and even a lot till this day, has always been progression for everybody. I want everyone to be good. I want Jewish, Indian, Hispanic. I want everybody to feel good. I want our people to feel good. I want things to be just. That's been the collective consciousness for a lot of civil rights leaders, even though, of course, one of their biggest focus were Black people. That's been the focus of a huge focus in the consciousness of Black people. Can you say that is the same historically in our political system and movements for other demographics? And this is the thing that people never really focus on. No,
they don't. No, and that's a good point you brought up. But here's the thing that is interesting. There's still internally a self-interest in this. Yeah. Because if society is doing good, then that's even better for you. If the red man is doing their thing respectively, and if their numbers were up where they're supposed to be and not have dwindled as much as they've done dramatically, and if the white man was doing what he was supposed to do and stay out of other people's shit, and the black man and the black woman can do what they can do, then people will feel good in their respective spaces. We've seen this historically in all civilizations and empires. When people start stepping over boundaries, fighting over resources, that's when you start seeing turmoil, and the psychology of those people starts to shift. You know, overall, I'll be honest with you, this ended up looking really good for Umar Johnson, because we have to be honest with you, he was kind of having a few Meek Mill moments. All right?
he was racking up some L's.
he was racking
up a little bit else.
Yeah,
but
you know what I'm saying?
This was a home run for him. This was a home run, a championship.
Right.
He did an excellent job.
Yeah, this was a... Oh, old lady, we appreciate you very much. You supporting us. She says, I love the commentary. Thank you very much.
Support us.
All right.
Financial backers and the crackers, know what I'm talking
I
about?
heard what the pimp said. We appreciate you very much. But what's interesting is that this ended up being his back-to-back moment, to be honest with you, because, you know, Sincere and I, we was working on other projects, and we saw it. And what we did, we was like, oh, okay, so something else is going on. And what I didn't like, though, at the end of the day, is that there was a disorganized, concerted attack to basically debase whatever he was trying to say, because, you know, he went through the first round where he explained himself, the whole shit about, you know, Douglas, and he got past Umar. What's the boy's name? Roland Martin. Then when it came to him explaining himself for the panel to have a debate, their whole thing was I'm just going to shake him up. I'm just going to go crazy, you know. And so I think at the end of the day, they did him more of a favor, especially on a platform like News One and Roland Martin, which a lot of black people do watch online.
Yeah, they did him a great favor, because he presented himself very well. Also, for the people that are just now joining us, we're not having a conversation about is Umar Johnson a fraud. We're talking about him being on the panel on Roland Martin and how he handled himself very well, and how two of the people in the panel could not address his valid points. That's what we're talking about. So if you want to have a conversation about who's a fraud and who's not, or homosexuality or all those other things, you're going to have to go to somebody else, because that's not the topic right now, and that's not the topic today.
Oh, yeah, y'all bring that up to me. I just told y'all before. You know, we just keep the chat room organized. If you're getting out of line, calling people all out of their names, being disrespectful, we're going to ask you one time, straighten yourself up, because we know you're a goddamn adult. Secondly, you're going to have to get kicked out.
DeAndre Hunter funny. He said he had media training.
What really happened with Dr. Umar Johnson, and why was he able to act like a black man instead of a Negro? Yo, I wouldn't be surprised he showed up there with that suit on, and you know, he looked like he had the look in his eye. Y'all ever seen? I'll tell you what Umar looked like. Y'all remember Rocky 3, where Clubber Lang fucked him up the first time around, and Rocky came back and he got trained by Apollo Creed. He says, "Look at the eyes of the boxers in the room. They have the eye of the killer. You used to have that." And Rocky was like, "What I gotta do?" "You gotta get it back, Rocky." And he got back in the ring, and then Clubber Lang was looking a little shook, and Stallone had that look in his eyes. That's what Umar looked like at the top of that conversation.
Absolutely. Also, rap culture. No, it's not biased. We've criticized Umar Johnson before. I think it's really biased for black people to think that we are going to bash somebody all the time. We try to focus on what someone is doing that is well and that may not be well.
Yes.
So what Umar Johnson was able to do on the Roland Martin show was clarify with facts some of the things that people accused him of being a fraud of. So he clarified the Frederick Douglass. He is a descendant of Frederick Douglass' cousin, and he had the facts to back that up. He also clarified what he meant about the Chinese in South Africa. So he cleared up everything, and then the talking points for that particular show, he was focusing on systemic racism. And the people on the panel, 2 out of the 3 could not address those questions. So that is the context of this conversation.
Yeah, and again, folks, y'all can fall back on Scott Bolden. I'll tell you that y'all should check out some of his work. Matter of fact,
Scott was great. He was great.
Yo, check him out. But also, as far as I'm concerned, to me, it looked like Umar Johnson came back with those loaded luck bars. And old boy, what's that man's name again? Eugene, looking like Calico in the 3rd round. You know what I'm saying? Lost nigga. I'm just saying, y'all. But anyway, yo, the real deal is, though, that Umar, he came prepared. He did what he did. And we're talking about respectively in the context of the conversation. We left the whole Umar situation alone because we saw, honestly, what we were able to see. Black people were still kind of, split on the situation with him, and Umar has been able to get onto, joints and clarify himself a little more, and it kind of, was leaning more into its favor. And so now this one here, this just gave him a home run. So they ended up looking silly. They started getting on personal attacks, minus Scott Bolden, because he said, basically, I agree with you on what you say. He says, however, it's just your language and how you come across into folks like us. He even said it. He isolated himself because Scott Bolden knew he didn't have any real connection to the average American black, talking about what they're going through financially and things like that. He said to us in the mainstream, your language just seems a little harsh.
Yeah, but his foundation,
his
foundation, how he grew up, did he empathized and he understood. He was actually agreeing 100% with Umar Johnson, and he actually took a slight swipe at the other people on the panel because he was like, y'all being very disrespectful.
He threw one of them whole double entendres back there.
Yeah, because he was like, as a mainstream black guy, as someone who's a professional that everybody considers a centrist, my mother was in the civil rights movement. I know exactly what you're talking about, and politically, it is logical.
Yeah.
It is logical, but the two people next to me who are also mainstream are having an issue with logic and facts.
Well, what he also brought up here was interesting too, is that what he said he heard his mother say about, talking black and sleeping white. Now, here's the thing about it. As far as I'm concerned, and I see Sam Paula, homie, I saw you brought the question up several different times. Personally, I don't care in the sense I cannot control every black man and black woman, what they do with their penis or their vagina. I cannot do that. That's not my department.
And that's not our right to do that.
However, though, what I can articulate is that, let's be real, this is not an alien conversation that we have not heard our parents, our aunties, our fathers, our uncles say amongst each other when we was in the dinner table or we was at the dinner table with them. All right. So let's not act like that's not an issue. So that's what even he was doing. And Scott Bolden's wife is black, by the way, just to let y'all know. But that's something he even brought up. He says, look, I understand completely where you come from. And what he was saying, as you said to the other panelists, let's not act like this isn't a conversation in the talks in the households of black America. I think what we say inside our homes doesn't necessarily reflect what we project publicly. So there are black people that may project publicly, I get along with everybody. But inside, you go in their homes, they're talking about crack of this and the crack ain't that, or vice versa on the flip side with white folks. They may say, man, I sure do love some Dr. Dre and Tupac, and they get to their brothers and sisters. You better not bring home a nigger.
Kid Rock.
Kid Rock. Yeah, him and
his Confederate flag, and he's from Detroit.
Yeah. Yeah, when he had that high top Bart Simpson haircut in the 80s.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to make these distinctions.
Yeah.
As a black person, can you feel for other people's plight? Absolutely. What was going on in North Dakota was atrocious when it came to the pipeline. And I know a lot of Native Americans and who are facing a lot of issues pertaining to the government. You have black people who are facing a lot of issues pertaining to the government. That being said, everybody around this world has gained from Africans.
They still are.
African Americans and black Americans. Yeah. And because of this, we have to really talk about it. We have not benefited as a collective more so than other groups of people with our own work, with our ancestors' own work. Yeah. And that's something that we haven't talked about. So if we're talking about music, right? Modern music is created by black people. And a lot of tools they brought with them from the African continent, right? This is a music that has created so many genres, from rock to blues to jazz. And people have made money off of it.
Billionaires.
Billionaires.
Yeah.
You have millionaires and plenty of billionaires because of it.
Yeah.
Have black people benefited from it? No. And there's a historical reason why. Now let's go to agriculture, right? If you're talking about agriculture and how black people, how Africans transform agriculture in the Americas and in Asia and also in the continent of Africa and also Europe, who has benefited from that? Not black people, not globally. Other groups of people have. So when people try to deny these facts, I think they're insane. And I actually understood, this is not to be pro Jay-Z, but I understand why black people feel like they need to see a therapist, because you have people calling you insane for historical facts and current facts. So you're saying the truth and people are calling you crazy for not being a dumbass.
Yeah, like that you said, calling you crazy for not being a dumbass.
What makes you think that you jabronis actually have the right to tell somebody what to say and what not to say?
You know, and shouts out to Sonia Roz, excuse me. She says, y'all got these people in here at this time at 3 o'clock. Yes, Sonia, we are here. We are fighting the Illuminati every time we can.
Yeah, because every time we've been trying to do 7 and 8 o'clock, it just keeps, for some reason, it doesn't go through.
Well, I got it straight this time.
Okay.
I got it straight. So we good. We Gucci now. So we'll press forward, moving forward. And Sonya, when we get a chance, we're going to chop it up with you again. Folks, y'all know Sonya Ross is in the room. Oh, we appreciate you. Afric, cool. Man, he donated some money, brother. You putting big money on it today.
Support us.
Every time y'all lay down some cash, we appreciate you. You wake up the Genie Pimp C temporarily.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't think of any industry, and this is not to be a pessimist, because I understand how history goes. If you think about it, other groups of people have been at the top historically longer than Europeans. That's a fact as well. But of course, we think within our own time and linear thinking instead of cycles. It feels like white people have always been in control, but technically people of other parts of the world have been in control much longer. So it can always swing back. But I think we all got to be honest with ourselves that in today's time, in our world and from our ancestors, starting from the Atlantic slave trade, we have to admit that nothing that black people have produced have come back in fruition for the betterment of black people themselves, because we have never had ownership of those things in this time.
Well, here's the thing about it. I'd like to add a little bit of something there, right? Because you just took it out the oven. I'm just gonna add a little bit of sea salt on there. I'm talking about the Himalayan sea salt, the Himalaya Superfly Player sea salt. I don't talk about that cheap shit y'all find in the dollar store. But anyway, there was a period. There have been cracks in times historically where black people were gaining prominence, right? Or if we're talking about what happened with the Negro League. Routinely black people have been checked out of these positions of power that was at the beginning of possible generational wealth. And even in certain situations where generational wealth was occurring, guess what happened? We've had embezzlement. Shouts out to Jonathan Phillips, y'all. Shouts out to Jonathan Phillips. I had an interesting conversation with him, recorded it. It should be up shortly this week. I know I promised the big homie on Tuesday, but it's going to have to be on Wednesday. I already know. I can feel it in my bones. But anyway, he brought up an interesting situation. We was talking about Michael Vick. Most of the times, because, there's this thing about, all these players, they're running off with these white women and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that could be a case with some of them, but there's a lot of them that are married to black women. What's really happening with a lot of these athletes is they're becoming victims of embezzlement through the rights of power of attorney, where it's estimated that 85% of embezzlement can take place when you give your lawyer power of attorney. What happened to Michael Vick, his woman, his lawyer, was an Asian lady on top of that. What she did, when he was facing all of his trauma, he had given her rights to power of attorney. He had noticed every month the money in his account was dwindling. She took off. He went to jail.
Our mics are cutting in and out.
Okay. People, they can hear us. Let's see. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So anyway,
said Asian, a lawyer.
Yeah. So Asian lawyer, she took off with the money and everything, and he was basically reduced to nothing, and he wasn't able to afford proper representation. Now, This happens routinely with a lot of black athletes and black entertainers. It happened to Sammy Davis Jr. as well. Okay, what we've seen, what was taking place with James Brown. We see what's going on right now with the Tupac estate. We see what was happening and is happening right now with Prince. You see what they keep trying to do with Kathleen Jackson. All right, Miss Jackson, Miss Mama Jackson, she keep trying to hold it down for her dead son, but they keep trying to strong arm her. All right, Jermaine and his greasy hair cannot protect her, right? So what is really taking place, as Sincere brought up, is there's always a frontal assault on black wealth, black progeny, and black wealth. And we have to stop acting like it's just pull yourself up by the bootstrap. This is why we were articulating a specific point in the narrative that is happening with Jay-Z, Sean Carter. And look, I know a lot of people don't like him. It is what it is. Just because we're not on the hate train, and we told y'all before, when somebody fucks up and they're making an ass of themselves, we're going to illustrate a point of why they shouldn't be doing that. But we're not going to jump on no train because everybody on social media are in their feelings. Now look, when we see this happen routinely with black people trying to step out of certain spaces to acquire wealth or ownership, we see a fight back. We see a pushback. You see what's happening with the ADL, how they're saying all of a sudden Jay-Z is anti-Semite, even though him and Russell Simmons fix his door. Russell Simmons, they did several PSAs about, you know, having anti-Semitic remarks in hip hop and just life in general. Now all of a sudden they're Hitlers, all right, or he's Hitler, right? And Russell Simmons he just came back and he told Jay-Z, you double down on your comment. He says, don't apologize for shit, basically. What we're saying here, this is something that is historical, right? And this is what also Umar Johnson was alluded to. So it doesn't matter that Jay-Z or Beyonce ascend to the level that they are in. The fact that they're in a space by themselves where there is no cushioning, where they can work with other people that are in that space. Jonathan Phillips brought up another point. He was saying, look, we only have about 5 or 6 rappers that are in that space financially. We have no billionaires. And Jay-Z is possibly the only one that's ventured out in this area that doesn't have somebody piggybacking him along the way. He's made business partnerships with people, but it's not like Jimmy Iovine riding on the back of Dr. Dre like a horse. You know what I'm saying? It's not one of those situations. So what you're going to have is this natural pushback by the system. So that's why we're saying what we're saying. It's on all levels. The problem is that, you know, we get in our emotions about certain things, or we don't like how this person moves or how they move or what they said 15 years ago. So that's what we're saying right now, just to let y'all know how we move on Thought Crimes. We watched the video, we watched the show, we saw Umar Johnson. He articulated himself very well. He was very straightforward. However, on the flip side, the panel was just too emotional, except for Scott Bolden.
Also, 50 Cent was able to handle himself well because his lawyers tried to do that to him.
Oh, yes, they did.
And he sued his lawyers and he actually won.
That shit was funny.
So, you know, we give credit where credit's due. Is there things that 50 Cent did that I don't like, that we don't like? Fuck yeah. But in that particular case, you got to bring up when someone did something savvy. Yeah. And that's where a lot of black people need to understand. You know, I see black people can still fuck with a lot of other groups. Go to a racist corner store where racist Chinese people or still do business or still take good advice from people who don't like them. And I mean just educating themselves by reading certain books and different things like that. If you could do it with other groups of people, you can do it with people inside your racial demographic as well.
Hey, you can wear it. It's the headsets. I was too close to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but no, you're right. You're absolutely right. No, Helene Future, Dre is not a billionaire. Do not let people run around and tell you that lie. Dre is not a billionaire. He's not a billionaire. He's not. I'm sorry to let you know, but he's not. Think about it.
And this is a oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to?
No, I was just gonna say he's not a billionaire. But go ahead, continue your point. I'll get to that.
Like people like Laureen, and Eugene are full of shit because if it was just the United States, everyone, you can easily say, okay, black people, y'all, the fucking issue.
Yeah.
But it's the continent of Africa. It's the Caribbean. It's everywhere that black people are.
It's in Russia.
No matter what they've done to move the human race forward through the arts, through science, through everything, they are still treated like second-class citizens, even third-class citizens everywhere. You see how the Ethiopian Jews are treated in Israel. You see how black people in China are treated. You see how black people are in Brazil are treated. You see how black people in the United States are treated. You see how black people in Mexico are treated. So we really need to stop with this insane thinking that everything bad that happens to black people was because some nigga shit. Because if that was true, Martin Luther King wouldn't be dead. Tulsa, Oklahoma wouldn't have been burned down. And it wouldn't be global. It wouldn't be global because you have black people across the world whose culture is somewhat different from ours. Of course, we have a lot of things that are the same. But there's a lot of black people who don't, who are not into hip hop in the same way, or they only listen to hip hop in the 80s over in France. So to say that black people are subjugated by their actions and who they are is a total lie, because then there wouldn't be racism in France. There wouldn't be racism again when it comes to colonialism, in African countries. We got to understand that this is all economics. Globally, black people are a piggy bank. Globally, you keep them as second, third-rate citizens, and you keep getting that check and that wealth from their talents. Yeah. And that's a part of what Get Out was. Get Out was a movie just talking about just basically how white society loves to take the skills and the excellence of black people and take it for themselves, make money off of it, become wealthy off of it. That happens all the time, and that's what we need to focus on.
Facts on that one. I'm telling you, and exactly as you said with Get Out. Get Out was a metaphorical tale about the colonization of black excellence. I told Sincere when I was watching them, I said, oh, he won his fucking eyes. He blind. He's a photographer, a skilled photographer. That's what happens routinely. And when people got mad at Joe Budden for snapping on Yachty, Joe Budden was speaking along those lines as well. Okay, same thing with Vince Staples, same thing with Vic Mensa. Okay, I mean, this is something that happens, and for whatever reason, well, we know what reason it is. We're comfortable with this idea of being the one that is colonized. Like, even with us as black people, there are some of us, a lot of us, that are very uncomfortable with practicing Machiavellian tactics on other people, other groups. We're cool with it on practice on us. We're comfortable. In fact, we big up any other body or any other group that do it well against us, right? But we practice it well against each other, you know, within the group, you know. So we're gonna undercut our sisters, we're gonna undercut our brothers, and that's what we'll do. You know what I'm saying? And so basically, going back to the panel is what I saw coming from Lauren Victoria Burke. And if you all are not familiar with her, you can look her up. She chronicles black members in Congress. She does reporting. She covered the Hillary Clinton campaign. I've seen her before. She's always just been there. That what you saw is who she is. All right. Same thing with Eugene. All right. What I saw there, though, especially in academia, because people don't understand, when you already start out with a mindset of confusion, or you're lost, or you're already a miseducated Negro, then you become educated by the system, as Malcolm X stated, your enemy system, your enemy school. All you're doing is being further indoctrinated into a state of racial confusion, which also studies have shown those people, even though we feel some type of way about racism, those people who are racially aware or culturally connected to who they are and their people, they have a lower levels of depression versus someone with the mindset of a Eugene or a Laura who is always in a constant state of denial. You're still experiencing it. No matter how much you deny it, you're still experiencing it. So that's what I saw right there. Umar Johnson was a vessel to put some facts down on the table. You know what I'm saying? But this was a classic situation of attack the messenger versus listen the message.
Absolutely. And I definitely agree. And that's something that, you know, we just wanted to illustrate. I know some people say you don't have to follow Umar Johnson. Absolutely you don't.
Yeah,
exactly you don't.
Yeah, you can do what you want to do. It's a free goddamn country.
It's a free country. There's a lot of people who are for certain political systems that are the benefit of black people. Yeah. So no, you don't have to follow, and you don't have to ignore the flaws of other people.
Yeah.
But you do have to admit when someone is being disrespected. Just like we said when Umar Johnson was disrespecting SETI, we're going to say here that panel was extremely disrespectful to Dr. Umar Johnson.
A black ass panel.
And with the exception of Scott.
Yeah.
And also, Dr. Umar Johnson was saying a lot of facts on that platform and on that show that they did not want to acknowledge except for Scott.
You know why? Because as he said, you all don't even represent the average black American. What he did, he was able to permeate their bubble, their class bubble. And he brought that information to them like, yo, I don't care how long you've been on Capitol Hill. This is what's happening at the bottom of the hill. And that's what people like that do not like to hear, you know? And as we said this before. You can love or hate Umar Johnson. You can follow him or not. We're not here to put the dude in any type of light specifically. Again, we have to keep reiterating. We're talking about in the context of the conversation. Okay? Just like, oh, we appreciate you. TK Duckett, shouts out to you.
Support us.
Appreciate y'all very much.
Financial backers and the crackers, know what I'm talking about?
Uh-oh. The genie said cracker. We can't say that. Anyway, so as we're saying here, look. You can do what you want when it comes to this man, all right? To be honest with you, like, Sincere now, we're off of it. You know, we push forward. You know, he said things in the media. We know what he was saying. We know who he is.
We have disagreements, as we do with everyone.
Yeah, we have disagreements.
No one will disagree with 100%.
Sincere now, we don't agree on everything.
Oh, you look, y'all in the chat room. Like we said, we're going to talk about that next time because I don't want to talk about homosexuality right now. I wanted it to focus on this.
Yeah.
But since we're about to wrap up, is you okay with us wrapping up?
Well, I just want to touch on one other point here.
Okay, go ahead.
You all have the freedom to follow those people. What's going on?
I just want those chips.
Oh, girl, I didn't know what you point at the second screen and everything. But anyway, she wants those little plantain chips. Plantain chips with her Nigerian self. Anyway, so look. You can follow Umar Johnson. You can hate him or whatever the case is. It's on you. You know what I'm saying? It is. It's on you. Just like she can walk out the house looking like an NWA member. It's on her.
She does.
Okay?
I don't know what the fuck she's doing with her hair, man. I'm not trying to be an ass, but...
No, I look, some people say, oh, don't say that. That's wrong. Look, like I said, when you turn out to be a professed black status, I don't like that. I don't like that because, see, that gives you wiggle room to talk around what happened to a Philando Castile. That gives you wiggle room to talk about what happened to a Sandra Bland or a Karine Gaines, or if we're talking about Tamir Rice, or if we're talking about Amadou Diallo, if we're talking about Sean Bell.
Eugene is also as well.
Oh yeah, he's a deep-seated status.
He's a status too.
He's a status, you know, and I don't fucking like status. I don't like black status. I don't like any of them.
That leads to large numbers of black death.
You know what I'm saying? So when they trying to institute that policy to people like us, we be like,
y'all finished or y'all done?
It don't make no sense. So anyway, folks, we're gonna drop off here like a roller coaster. As you all see, y'all brought us some of that beautiful Negro magic. Y'all carried our asses all the way through this goddamn live stream. We appreciate those who have donated. And folks, if y'all get a chance, of course, you can listen to when Miss Sonia Ross was on here and she was talking about black trauma pertaining to black men. We're gonna have another follow-up with her you know, later on sometime this week. We're gonna, you know, set the schedule up behind the scenes. Also gonna have one up on Jonathan Phillips as well, so y'all can get it to that. He's gonna talk about the dynamics, what is taking place with Jay-Z and what does it mean. We're talking about black ownership and how black celebrity is different from white celebrity, because we always get that confusing. So we sweep all celebrities under the same encompassing scope, which is a false misnomer as well. Excuse me, as well. And oh, Corey James, man, you come on, homie. Y'all you tipping us on the way out the door like we some stripping hoes.
We appreciate it.
We appreciate y'all very much, folks. Again, we love each and every last one of you all, even if the ones you don't like us, we love you too. All right, but go ahead. If you haven't seen the information, the video of the exchange between Dr. Umar Johnson.
Dr. Umar Johnson and Roland Martin.
Absolutely, and we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Sincere, do you have any final thoughts for the people? A prayer, service, anything?
We're going to have our part 2 of the Black Panther Unmasked, the Dahomey women. We're going to have that uploaded tomorrow. Prince is going to be doing some more mini docus on the game, some other hip-hop artists on I Am Prince.
I'm glad you brought that up.
And we have a lot of stuff that we're going to be kicking.
Oh, yeah. Also, get over there, y'all. On my other channel, I Am Prince Solomon.
Oh, he did one on Joe Budden. That was really cool.
Yeah, I did one on Joe Budden. Shouts out to Joe Budden. He actually reposted the damn video on his Twitter feed. I was shocked. I was, oh shit. He's one of the classic MCs. So y'all get over there. I did one. It's called Joe Budden, the Misunderstood Oddball. You know, I know a lot of people, they was like, yo, what's up with the voice? That is my voice.
And people stop biting Prince's style and not giving him credit. There's a lot of fucking yuppies now that are in the hip-hop shit, and they trying to do the exact same template. Fucking hate biters.
Yo, that's why Sincere is who she is. She will come up under that car, from under that car with that goddamn pistol.
Yeah, man. And biters, what they do, they give you no fucking credit whatsoever.
Oh, no, I'm a Negro. I'm a Negro. I see you, though. Oh, yeah, Liz Martin, thank you very much. See, y'all keep tipping us.
Support us.
Y'all ain't left Magic City yet.
And the crackers, you know what I'm
The
talking
chicken
about?
wings are up. The big booty woman didn't got put up in the closet. She's done. Anyway, y'all, we up out of here, folks. This is your boy P Solo.
And this is your girl Sincere.
Peace.
I saw the check, nigga. Huh?
What's that?